Do 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 do. All right, just waiting on Rockfin. Can you do what you need to do, please? Always a delay on Rockfin. Always a delay. Okay, there we go. Got that. And we go. Doobie-doobie-doo.
I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati.
Hello. Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had a great weekend. Welcome to Sabs podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you are new, I want to let you know that Sabs podcast is a part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can catch me there on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and actually Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. And you can catch me here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and no, I changed it. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Welcome. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube, Rockfin, and Twitter. Want to give shout outs to people in the chat, but really quick, I want to give a shout out to Hardlands Media. I was contacted today and I was told they played a clip from my interview with Shama Sawant on there. I interviewed her last night. If you haven't had a chance to watch that interview, definitely check it out, because one of the things that we talked about, which I feel like I'm hearing a lot of, is people saying, well, if we're not going to do the Justice Democrat strategy, then what are we going to do? We talked about that last night about strategy, and Shama actually, she put it so beautifully of what we should be doing and the strategy that we should be trying to apply, which is similar to what they're using in Seattle with a socialist alternative and what they did with her as well. So I don't want to tell you everything. I want you to watch the interview, but definitely check out that interview because there were some really good things that were said there. So shout out to Curtis. Thanks so much for becoming a Sabby member. Whoop, whoop. Greetings, Miguel says peace. What's going on, Notori says star love. Shout out to Troy Z, and KC, who's a Sabby member. Hello, aloha, and all that jazz. Greetings, Angela. Good evening, Sabby family. Hope everyone is having a good one. Doobie-doobie-doo. Smash that like button. Yes, hit that like button, guys. That helps me with the algo. Shout out to Gamer and Ganja for Life says hello. Hello. Is it me you're looking for? Me and JB have been joking around about that song. Oh, it jumped ahead. Shout out to Lawrence says Sabby brought the fire. Thank you. Lawrence is also a Sabby member. Greetings. Yipper99 says, Miguel, what it do? What it do? Shout out to Eric, who's a Sabby member, says mess around with Shama and find out. That's right. Greetings. Mr. X says Lionel Richie. Shout out to Where Pilgrim says, hey, everybody. Greetings, Krillfinger says, hey, everyone. Shout out to JB says, good evening, Sabs. What's up, JB? Woohoo! And this thing jumped ahead, so I know I skipped over some people, so sorry about that. Shout out to everyone who is a Sabby patron. I want to go ahead and show their names here. If you are interested in being a Sabby patron, I have 5 categories: members, Sabbies, Sabsters, Sabinators, and Ultimate. All of their names are listed here. And I also want to give a shout out to new patrons: Sin, Danielle Lizote, and Mark Plant, PhD. Welcome, newbies. Thank you guys so much for your support. It really does go a long way. and all of their names are scrolling across the bottom of the screen as well. So, what are we talking about tonight? Tonight should be interesting. Tonight should be good. Let me go ahead and share my thumbnail, which apparently I do not have up here. I got to get right tonight. Where is that thumbnail? There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what are we talking about tonight? Like I said, this should be an interesting show. Tonight, we're talking about Anna KASPARIAN agrees with Jimmy DORE. What? On what universe did that happen? And yet, here we are. I'm also going to discuss Chris Hedges' warning. That is going to be a really good story that everyone needs to pay attention to. Chris is basically predicting what is about to happen in our country. And then I'm also going to discuss Roe v. Wade DEMS exposed. And that's Nancy Pelosi there, Manchin, and that's Hakeem Jeffries. So, should be a good show tonight. Should be a good show. So I want to go ahead and get started. Let's talk about these DEMS that are exposed. So thank you so much. I forget who shared this on Twitter, this article here. But, you know, it's really interesting. A lot of the messaging that's coming from Democrats that are in D.C., they claim that they're going to fight for women's rights. They want you to donate to them and give them money in order for them to do that. Of course, right? They just want to fundraise. But I told you before, Nancy Pelosi endorsed Henry Cuellar, and so did Jim Clyburn against the progressive candidate that was pro-choice. Henry is not pro-choice, and that's not something he hides. It's not a hidden thing. He calls himself a conservative Democrat. What I was not aware of was who has actually donated to Henry for his campaign. Let's check that out. This is how you call their bluff. This is how you know they are not serious. And by they, I mean the Democrats that are in DC right now. They're not serious about this. Here are the congressional Democrats who donated to anti-choice Dem Henry Cuellar. So here we go. Facing a strong primary challenge from pro-choice Jessica Cisneros, anti-abortion Democrat Henry Cuellar secured crucial campaign support from at least 18 Democratic incumbents. So, even though Nancy Pelosi and Jim Clyburn were the ones that came forward about it, that went to Texas to help him win, there are actually 18 Democrats that actually donated money to Henry Cuellar. Let's see who they are. Scroll down here. I'm just going to go straight to the chart, actually, and then I'll come back up there. Okay, congressional Democrats donating to Henry Cuellar. A little bit bigger for you guys. Donations by campaigns and leadership PACs or Democratic members of Congress to Henry Cuellar's campaigns. Now, this is January 2019 through March 2022. Number one, and this is in order by amount. The highest amount is first. Representative Kurt Schrader. I don't even know who Kurt is. I'm not familiar with this one. But Kurt donated $5,500 to Henry. Number two is Hakeem Jeffries. So he's actually on the thumbnail. Hakeem Jeffries, very, very concerning. Not someone you should be advocating for. He donated $5,000. And see, I like what this article did because in the third column, they list the official name of donor entity. See, this is how they get away with it. They're sneaky. They're sneaky. It doesn't necessarily have to be in their name. This is a way that they can disguise it. So, for example, Kurt donated through Three Rivers Political Action Committee. Hakeem Jeffries donated through Jobs, Education, and Families First Jeff PAC. You see what I mean? This is why I want people to pay attention to this, because this is kind of a way that they can give someone money without people really noticing that they're giving that person that money. You put it through another organization. Nancy, however, was not as clever about her donation. Nancy Pelosi donated $4,000. The donor entity is Nancy Pelosi for Congress. She didn't even try to hide hers. So let's go down. Joe Manchin, Country Roads PAC, Representative Pete Aguilar, Progressive Majority PAC, Jim Costa. Oh, by the way, these are 2 California Democrats. Everybody see this? These are 2 California Democrats. They claim to be the lefties left. So just keep that in mind. His donor entity here is Valley First Leadership PAC. Representative Ed Chase, Case for Congress. Representative Richard Neal, which is in my state, he's an ass, by the way. He's the one that would bring Medicare for all to the floor. He's the one. That's Richard Neal. Just FYI. He lives out in Western Mass, I believe. Madison PAC. After Richard Neal, Pete Aguilar. So this is Pete Aguilar. He's on here twice. This time with this amount, he donated from Pete Aguilar for Congress. Representative John Larson, Synergy PAC. Ted Lieu, who, by the way, is awful. He's a part of the Progressive Caucus, but he is not progressive. He's terrible. Again, another California Democrat. He donated through Ted Lieu for Congress. Representative Rosa DeLauro, Friends of Rosa DeLauro. Apparently, Rosa has many friends. Representative Brad Schneider. He donated through Butterfield for Congress. Bridge the Gap PAC. Representative Butterfield for Congress. Debbie Weiserman Schultz. I'm not surprised to see her on here. She is corporate to the T. She is very corrupt. Democrats Win Seats PAC. Representative Vincent Gonzalez, Fighting for South Texas. Representative Marcy Kaptur for Congress. Representative Raha Krishnamurti, Reviving American Jobs Again PAC. And last but not least, Senator Jackie Rosen from Nevada, Smart Solutions PAC. 18 Democrats donated to Henry's campaign, the anti-choice candidate. 18. So you see, it's not just Nancy Pelosi. And this is what I've been trying to tell people. Again, a lot of times they got to have a fall guy. There's 1 or 2 that will come forward, but there's usually others that are behind them. You just don't get to see their names. And had it not been for this article, I wouldn't have seen it either. 18 Democrats supporting an anti-choice candidate. This is why I tell you, do not donate to them. I don't care what they tell you. They say donate to us so we can get women's rights back. They had plenty of time to do that. They had decades to do it. They could have done it under Obama, Clinton, Carter. They didn't do it for a reason. This is terrible. 18. So if any of these representatives, if these are your people, if they represent your district, if they represent your state, contact their office, their numbers are public, and ask them why they donated money to the anti-abortion Democrat if they care about women's choice so much. Ask them. I want to hear their answer. I want to hear what they got to say about that. And for all these people, all these candidates that are going on these talk shows, Nancy Pelosi, and are asking questions, they're answering questions about what just happened with the Supreme Court overturning. I want to see those hosts, I want to see those commentators ask them why they're donated money to the anti-abortion Democrat. Because you know where I come from, there's a saying, put your money where your mouth is. That's where they're putting their money. You see what I'm trying to tell you? So ignore what they're saying and pay attention to what they're paying for. Pay attention to where their money is going, because that speaks volumes. It's awful, awful. Thank you for the super chat, Alex. I encourage everyone to Google what Lincoln did when the Supreme Court ruled on Dred Scott v. Sanford. The Dems could absolutely do more, but they choose not to. Good point, Alex. Colin said, as Sabby says, follow the money. This is why you have to follow it. Krill Fingers, Mama Baby, steady exploiting the resources of citizens and mauling anyone who ever confronts her. Jay, why would you even be in the Democratic Party, let alone donate to them? There you go. There you go. What is it, Colin? Thank you so much for the super chat. You know I love you, Sabby, but it's a shame that you were able to obtain this information when journalists and MSM won't do this. They sure won't. Wasn't hard for me to find this actually either. Like I said, someone shared this on Twitter, and then I went further along the way. Then I started to do the digging. So I'm sure if I saw it on Twitter, I'm pretty sure some of them saw it too. But they're not going to ask them those questions. That's why those politicians go onto those shows, because they know they're not going to get pressured. Because if they came on here, I would pull this list right up and say, why did you donate money to him if you care about a woman's right to choose so much? Call it all out. Eric, can you put the link to this article in the chat? That way they can see the full article. Now, continuing on with Roe, there was a story I saw recently on Twitter, and this story is from Lauren Ashcraft. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with her. She has a podcast. She ran for office, I think, on the local level in New York City. She's really sweet, really nice. I didn't know that this was happening, and I want to commend her for sharing her story, and I want you to hear this as well. So Lauren posted, my story and the story of so many. Again, I didn't realize that this was going on, so I found out about this recently. The talented Dawn's If Photography snapped this picture of Paul and me at the protest Friday, and it captured so much emotion. I wanted to share the backstory behind what you see. So apparently, Lauren is pregnant. I didn't realize that. I'm carrying a baby girl, and I'm so lucky to have a supportive husband who fights at least as hard alongside me for both our rights and safety. Last year, we found out I was pregnant with a very planned, very wanted, and loved baby. My joy lasted only weeks. I'm gonna leave out the some of the details here because of, you know how YouTube is. You see, but you can read it yourself. I'm just not going to say it. You see, what male politicians don't know is that pregnancy calculations start at the beginning of your cycle, 2 weeks before you ovulate. I tested positive at week 5 and jumped for joy. I surprised my husband by putting a bandana saying "Big Sister" on our cat and told him we're having a baby. We both cried. I started thinking about this new life and loved it. Like I said, weeks later, that's when she started to miscarry. My doctor advised if it was a miscarriage, there is nothing he could do to stop it. At that stage, it's chromosomal. chromosomal, excuse me, meaning one of any of the countless cell splits could have gone wrong. I waited, prayed, and agonized for days while I was still, she was hemorrhaging there, hoping it would stop. At week 8, I lost so much blood that it was clear that baby would never be born. And I had to give the hemorrhaging a week to stop or else come in for something called a D&C, where they medicate me to expel what was left or scrape out the surface of my uterus to make sure nothing was left. This is not an abortion, but rather a painful procedure women who endure miscarriages must sometimes go through to ensure pieces of the embryo or the baby they hoped would turn into their child aren't stuck and rotting. See, guys, this is education here. People need to know about this. People need to fully understand. And I don't care what your reason is for getting an abortion, but people need to understand not everyone who chooses to get an abortion, first of all, not everyone chooses to. Lauren clearly did not want to do that, but medically, she had to do what she had to do. Do you see what I mean? This is why we have to educate people. We really do. So let me go on. She goes on to say that if she would have left that could lead to an infection. In multiple states, this procedure is now illegal. I'm going to say this one more time. In multiple states, that procedure, what Lauren just described to you, is now illegal because the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. And I'm going to show you those states in just a second as well. This was the problem with turning it over to the states. Lauren goes on to say, I was broken. I quit my job. I quit my podcast. I wanted that baby. I never expected for this to happen to me. And I did not realize it can happen in up to 40% of pregnancies. The very next cycle, I was overjoyed to get another positive test. And this is Lauren here. Now I carry a daughter, 27 weeks today, and I cannot promise her the freedom I grew up with. And I cannot promise her safety and control over her own body in this country. I'm devastated for her. So first and foremost, again, kudos to Lauren for sharing that story. It's a personal story, and something like that isn't easy to share. So I appreciate her telling that story. And this is what people don't understand. Now, I want to show you the states because I don't think people realize how far this has gone. Here's where abortions are now banned or strictly limited and where they may be soon. So this is another one I'm going to add to the chat, Eric. Listen to this. Abortion is now illegal or heavily restricted in at least 11 states following the Supreme Court's historic decision Friday to overturn Roe v. Wade. 12 other states have laws in place that pave the way to quickly ban or severely restrict access to them, according to research from the Guttmacher Institute, a group that favors abortion rights. Several additional states appear likely to pass new laws. Now let's take a look at the states. 11 states now ban or severely limit abortion. 11 others have laws not yet in effect to do the same. So here's the legend here. Types of abortion bans. If you see a brown state, that means the ban is currently in effect. If you see an orange state, that means there's a trigger ban. I'm going to explain that in just a second. This is more like I don't know what color you want to call this. Beige. If you see the beige state, this means pre-Roe ban. And the yellow states mean 6-week ban. Now, let's look at the states. The part where it said, I want to go ahead and break these down for you. There was one where it said the trigger ones. I think that's further down. Anywho, look at the map. You see what's happening, right? So I told you brown means the ban is in effect. So right now you have Wisconsin, South Dakota, Missouri, Kentucky, West Virginia, Ohio, Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, Oklahoma, and Alabama. If you live in one of those states, you cannot get an abortion. It's in effect. The ban is there. Okay. Now, orange is the trigger ban. So that's North Dakota, Wyoming, Idaho, Utah, Mississippi, Tennessee. The trigger ban. Beige was pre-Roe ban. So that's Michigan. I think Michigan and Arizona. They're the only ones that have that. And then, of course, yellow is the 6-week ban. So that's Iowa, Georgia, and South Carolina. And all the states in gray right now, it's still legal there. But don't get excited if you live in a gray state either, because we're not safe. Like, I live in Massachusetts, but I'm going to tell you right now, you think that we're safe from having this happen to us? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So let's go down here. These are some key points. Ohio bans abortion after about 6 weeks. Arizona recently enacted a 15-week ban and may not enforce its pre-Roe ban. Michigan's governor has asked for the pre-Roe ban to be struck down. Texas already had a 6-week ban in effect. The Texas Attorney General argues that other pre-Roe bans are now in effect. So you see what I was saying in reference to Texas. Remember, they had this last year with abortion. They changed the laws and they made it the 6-week ban. So they were already skating on thin ice. Women in that state were already skating on thin ice. Then the Supreme Court overturns it. Now it's just done. And the other one here, pre-Roe bans are in effect in Wisconsin and West Virginia, but the extent to which they will be enforced is unknown. So I want everyone, again, pass this on to your friends. Here's the part here I wanted to discuss about the trigger ban. 13 states had trigger bans, laws that were written to effect either immediately by state official certification or after a 30-day waiting period if Roe is overturned. So those states that are orange, these orange states, those were the trigger ban states. So once the Supreme Court overturned it, boom. This is very concerning. This is really sad. Really, really. Because what are those women in those states supposed to do? And for people saying, oh, it'll just get turned over to the states, it won't be a big deal. And I saw people saying that on social media. Does this not look like a big deal to you? And this is what I predicted would happen. And here we are. If you live in the heartland, you are kind of screwed. Your best bet is West Coast or the East Coast. That's your best bet right now. So it's really sad. So yeah, Eric, if you can share that with them, that would be really great. Thank you. But it doesn't end here, because I want to show you what else they're working on. And I predicted this as well. Clarence Thomas. Justice Thomas SCOTUS should reconsider contraception, same-sex marriage rulings. So this doesn't stop with Roe. They are going after other rights. Listen to this. And I predicted, I said, what? They're going to come after gay marriage next? So here we go. Now, this is from Politico. Justice Clarence Thomas argued in concurring opinion released on Friday that the Supreme Court should reconsider its past rulings codifying rights into contraception access, same-sex relationships, and same-sex marriage. So not even just same-sex marriage. He's even looking at people who are in same-sex relationships. This is where we are now in this country. After everyone, and I'm not LGBTQ, but I have friends that are, I have family members that are, for everything that community has fought for so that they can just have a freaking relationship in this country. Now, the Supreme Court, or at least Clarence Thomas, wants the court to reconsider those decisions as well. But it was really interesting, though, because I noticed what was not on that list was interracial marriage. Why? Because Clarence Thomas is in an interracial marriage. He's not going to come after issues that directly affect him. He's going to come after issues that don't affect him. It's pretty hypocritical if you think about it. You don't want gay people to get married. You don't want them to have a relationship, but you're in an interracial marriage, and I'm in an interracial marriage. And this is something I never really understood. I never really understood how you could be that way. You say you're in an interracial relationship and you say you're against gay relationships or gay marriages. That doesn't make any sense. Christianity, and this is not to knock anyone that believes in Christianity or that practices Christianity. I'm talking about religion overall, Christianity overall, not individual people. Christianity took a foothold of the Black community, and those ideas and those teachings so much to the point where it convinced Black people to dislike and hate other marginalized groups. Tell me how that makes sense. Let's think about this for a second. Kanye West talked about this a while back about homophobia in the Black community. That's something that I agree with Kanye on. He's right about that. There is a lot of homophobia in the Black community. Some people don't want to talk about that. Some people don't want to hear about it, but it's true. And you know where it comes from? It comes from the Black church. It comes from Christianity. Now, you've been convinced that you're supposed to hate a marginalized group, even though you're part of a marginalized group that's been hated, that's been abused, that's been misused in this country. And just like that, colonialism, they taught you to hate other marginalized groups, even though they were doing the same thing to you. That's one of the pitfalls of colonialism, if you really think about it. Again, this is not knocking people's religion. I know people who are Christian. I know people who are Buddhist, yada, yada. I'm talking about the religion as a whole, what it has done as a whole. So it's a problem. I'm talking about the Black church too. Come on, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. You can't be forcing people into marriages just because you don't agree with the fact that they're gay. You can't do that. That's coming from the Black church. So you have people getting married to someone of a different sex than them that they really are not attracted to. But because the church told them that that's what they're supposed to do, that being gay is wrong. And then their partner doesn't understand years later why they've been secretly messing around on their partner with someone of the same sex as them. They don't understand. Pressure from the church. It's a problem. And I think those of us in the Black community, I think we need to start calling that out. Why did I bring that up? That actually takes me into my next story about Christianity and what we probably need to be prepared for. Chris Hedges, and shout out to the person who sent me this. It was interesting. They sent me this article and I had just read it too. And they were like, can you talk about this? And I was like, I was definitely going to talk about it. So we were on the same page. But Chris Hedges here, and I highlighted this. So I'm gonna go ahead and you guys will be so proud of me. I highlight paragraphs now. Woo! The Hedges report on Substack. If you are not following Chris Hedges, I highly recommend that you do. Highly recommend. So he put out a new article. It's called Fascists in Our Midst. And those of you, if you're new with me, you may not know this, but I'm not going to read the entire article. There are a couple paragraphs I want to highlight, as I think this is very important. I want everyone to pay attention to what is happening in our country. Fascists in our midst. Supreme Court rulings, including the overturning of Roe v. Wade, herald the ascendancy of Christian fascism in the United States. And I'll just make sure this is large enough for you guys. There we go. So here's one. Go away. Dude, go away. Close. Go. Sorry. The first paragraph I want you to pay attention to. The Supreme Court is relentlessly funding and empowering Christian fascism. It not only overturned Roe v. Wade, ending a constitutional right to an abortion, but ruled on June 21st that Maine may not exclude religious schools from a state tuition program. I do need to mention that for a second. For those who do not know, yes, that has passed in Maine now. Now, taxpayer dollars are going towards religious schools. You guys see what's happening here? It just ruled that a Montana state program to support private schools must include religious schools. It ruled that 40-foot cross could remain on state property in suburban Maryland. It upheld the Trump administration regulation, allowing employers to deny birth control coverage to female employees on religious grounds. It ruled that employment discrimination laws do not apply to teachers at religious schools. It ruled that a Catholic social services agency in Philadelphia could ignore city rules and refuse to screen same-sex couples applying to take in foster children. And that one was always interesting to me, because just because someone is in a same-sex relationship, that doesn't make them a bad parent. You want to talk about parenting? I know some straight parents that should probably have their kids taken away from them. Hello? But this assumption that because someone is gay, that they're not going to be a good parent or they're going to be a bad parent, where does that even come from? Let's go back in. It neutered the 1965 Voting Rights Act. It watered down laws allowing workers to combat sexual and racial harassment in court. That one, this is going to be key. Watered down laws allowing workers to combat sexual and racial harassment in court. That's going to be a problem. Let's go back in. Again, this is a longer article. I'm not going to read the entire one. I did forget to highlight this one, but I do want to say, I'm glad that he mentioned this, and you guys probably know this as well. I do want to remind you, Chris Hedges, by the way, is Christian. He doesn't hide that. He talks about his faith. So the fact that this article came from him, it really, I feel like it says a lot, because he's not being biased here. He's not like, well, I'm not going to write about that because, I'm a Christian, so I'm not going to go down that road. He wrote about it anyway. So he mentions that here as well. I don't use the word fascist lightly. My father was a Presbyterian minister. My mother, a professor, was a seminary graduate. I received my Master of Divinity from Harvard Divinity School. He's also an ordained Presbyterian minister. I forgot about that part. So just FYI, just take that in consideration before you hear the rest of what I'm about to share with you. The next part I want to focus on. Fascists achieve power by creating parallel institutions, schools, universities, media platforms, and paramilitary forces, and seizing the organs of internal security and good grief, I can't talk tonight. Sorry, guys. And the judiciary. They deform the law, including electoral law, to serve their ends. They are rarely in the majority. The Nazis never polled above 37% in free elections in Germany. So this is something important to highlight here, that typically fascists are not in the majority. This is true. So what's scary is the fact that they're not in the majority, but they've been able to display immense power. And he's going to explain to you how they do that. Something to note, again, they're not in the majority, but they're still able to display a lot of power to get what they want. Christian fascists constitute less than a third of the U.S. electorate, about the same percentage of those who consider abortion to be murder. Well, what do you know? Isn't that surprising? But that makes sense. Christian fascists constitute less than a third of the U.S. electorate, about the same percentage of those who consider abortion to be murder. I was thinking about this the other day in reference to the Supreme Court, and something that's kind of stood in my mind. There's 9 justices. I believe the vote was 5-4. I have to go back and double check. I think it was 5-4. But the fact that 5 people, again, they're not in the majority. The fact that 5 people could make such a life-changing decision for millions and millions of Americans is really astonishing when you think about it, right? The fact that all that power was held in the hands of 5 people, and just like that, they just took your rights away. 5 people did that. Not 100, not 1,000, not millions. 5 people made a decision for millions and millions of Americans. Just like that, they took your rights away. That's really scary when you think about it. He goes on to say, these Christian fascists are clear about the society they intend to create. And this is the part that I want you to pay close attention to. In their ideal America, our secular humanist society, based on evidence and reason, will be destroyed. I want to say that again. In their ideal America, our secular humanist society, based on science and reason, will be destroyed. The 10 Commandments will form the basis of the legal system. Creationism or intelligent design will be taught in public schools, many of which will be overtly Christian. Now, I just saw a story earlier. I don't believe I linked it, Eric. I may have forgotten. But they're already trying to say that teachers can lead prayer in school now. What happened to separation of church and state? Want us all to pay attention to what's happening. He goes on to say, the role of the federal government will be reduced to protecting property rights, homeland, security, and waging war. Most government assistance programs and federal departments, including education, will be terminated. Church organizations will be funded and empowered to run social welfare agencies in schools. The poor, condemned for sloth, indolence, and sinfulness, will be denied help. And you already see the way that they treat poor people now. Just imagine how worse poor people will be treated in a society that is under this fascist state. If you think they're treated bad now, just wait. The death penalty will be expanded to include moral crimes, including apostasy, blasphemy, sodomy, and witchcraft, as well as abortion, which will be treated as murder. Women denied contraception, access to abortion, and equality under the law will be subordinate to men. We're really going back to the Puritan times. We really are, if you think about it, what's happening. It's crazy. It's freaking crazy. Hit that like button, guys. Don't forget. Help Sabby get a like. Help Sabby get a like. Those who practice other faith will become, at best, second-class citizens. The wars waged by American empire will be defined as religious crusades. Victims of police violence and those in prison will have no redress. There will be no separation of church and state. And you guys see that's already starting to happen now, where they're allowing religion to come back into the schools somewhat. They got the taxpayers in Maine now paying for religious schools. So you see, this is already starting to happen. The only legitimate voices in public discourse and the media will be Christian. America will be sacralized as an agent of God. Those who defy the Christian authorities at home and abroad will be condemned as agents of Satan. I want to mention this part here as well. Like I said, I don't read the entire, I think I only have one more piece left. Yeah, this part right here I want to mention as well. He's talking about a book that he wrote that was a New York Times bestseller. Listen to this. Although my book was a New York Times bestseller, Harvard told my publisher it was not interested in appearing at the school. Although my New York Times bestseller, his book was a bestseller, Harvard told my publisher it was not interested in my appearing at the school. What does that remind you of? What happened with Cornell West and Harvard University? A lot of these universities, as someone I've worked in this field for years, a lot of these universities, you would think they're more liberal, especially here in the Northeast. A lot of these universities are conservative, especially when it comes to business. A lot of them are conservative. They only want you to talk about certain things and in a certain way. That's why Harvard University didn't want Chris Hedges to come talk about his book. Same thing they did to Cornell West. I gave a lecture on the book at Colgate University where I earned my undergraduate degree, organized by my mentor, Coleman Brown, a professor of ethics. I held a seminar, also organized by Coleman, with the professors of philosophy and religion after the talk. The professors wanted nothing to do with the critique. When we left the room, Coleman muttered, "The problem is they do not believe in heretics." And there was one more spot. I remember I ran out of highlighting. Can I unlock this? No. You only get so many per article for the free version. There was one more towards the end. See, this is why I like to highlight stuff. Where he said, "Aha, ha, ha." This part right here. I'll highlight it now. Blah, 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 blah. Listen to this. These scholars, writers, intellectuals, and journalists, like those of Weimar Germany, bear much of the blame. He's talking about the academic elite. This is why I tell you guys, when you hear me talk about them, I know because I used to work with them. I worked with faculty for over 10 years. I know how they are. Listen to this. The academic elite. They preferred accommodation over confrontation. They stood by as the working class was stripped of rights and impoverished by the billionaire class, fertilizing the ground for an American fascism. One more time, the scholars, writers, intellectuals, and journalists like those of Weimar Germany bear much of the blame. They preferred accommodation over confrontation. They stood by as the working class was stripped of rights and impoverished by the billionaire class, fertilizing the ground for an American fascism. So the point that Chris is making there towards the end is that these institutions in place that are supposed to help us weed out this type of noise, this type of nonsense, actually support it because they don't stand up to it. They support it. Eric, I think you already shared the link to that article, right? I think Eric put the link to the article in the chat. The article's longer than that. It's a long article, but definitely go check out that article. But Chris Hedges is right. This is what they're planning for. Why do you think Clarence Thomas is trying to go after contraception now? He also wants to go after gay marriage, gay relationships. Why do you think so? This is what they want. They want, I would say, they want an obedient servant class of people. They don't really want you to have any rights. The only people that they want to have the rights are people who are already wealthy. They want to control everything. And the rest of us, they don't want people starting unions. Why do you think people like Amazon and all these CEOs coming out of the woodwork to try to stop people from organizing labor unions? They don't want you to have any rights. That's why. They don't want you to have it. None of it. Period. They want you to go to work, do what they tell you to do, take the money that they give you. Don't ask for more money. Don't expect a raise. They want you to do what they tell you to do, and they don't want you to complain about it. That's what they want. And if that means that they have to use Christianity or whatever religion you have at it to get people in line and to be obedient, that is what they will do. I'm going to go to some of the comments. LPA Film said, my mother had a similar situation, I think, when what would have been an older sibling got stuck in one of her tubes or something like that. She didn't even know she was pregnant until the pain started. Yep. Thank you for sharing, LPA Film. JB said, basically making my relationship with my boyfriend illegal. Exactly. Eric says, it's annoying how many issues we still have in our community, Sabby. Yes, it is. And you know what? Part of that has to deal with the older generation. They don't want anything to change. Thank you so much for the super chat, AJF. I'm hoping, due to many elements in American conservatism being so insular / unpopular, that there'll be an electoral backlash effect, but settle in for some rough years, women, gays, trans, and interracial folks. It's really sad, man. Colin said, if Jesus was living today, he would be livid. Thank you for the super chat, AJF. I'm male, Hispanic, Catholic, Christian, heterosexual, and American, but I'm thinking I'm not alone in this, that I and others of faith still love, respect atheists, gays, trans, agnostics. So have hope, folks. Bam. Thank you for that, AJF. Jay Alvarado, you need to watch Handmaid's Tale, Sabs. Oh, I've heard all about it. I've heard. Angela said the Puritans came to impose their religion on everyone. They would be very proud of the way things have turned out. And thank you so much for this super chat as well, Colin. Pop quiz. Who pushed the eugenics movement? Harvard University. Colin did a whole segment on that on Indie News Network. He did a whole segment about Harvard University. I told you, these institutions, they are not what you think. I'll take those comments on Rockfin, Eric. All right. Thanks for the tip on Rockfin, Roger. Out of all 22 of those states that have anti-abortion laws, Arkansas, Arizona, the Dakotas, Florida, Idaho, Michigan, Missouri, Ohio, Oklahoma, Mississippi, Utah, and Wyoming voters can, through veto referendum, repeal whatever their state government passes into law. Idaho and Utah voters allows voters to pass state laws. The rest of those states allow voters to pass state laws and amend their state constitution using the ballot initiative. I'm hoping those voters of those states know this, see this, and use this so we can see once and for all, do red state politicians represent the interests of their red state voters in a red state? Stop depending on your queen, aka the federal government, to win. Use all tools in the toolbox. Use your rooks, aka ballot initiatives and veto referendums, bishops, aka state government, knights and pawns, aka big cities and smaller municipalities, to protect we the people, king. Remember when, regarding partisan gerrymandering, SCOTUS kicked it out to the states, the left lost their mind. Well, what most don't know is that all 50 states prohibit partisan gerrymandering, but no one knew. Also, although not ballot initiative or veto referendum, Kansas state legislature put forth a legislative referral constitutional amendment to ban abortions. To their voters for ratification that they will vote on, not this November, but them sneaky bastards moved the date for voters to ratify it on primary election day, August 2nd. In Nebraska, a state that allows voters to go completely around Nebraska government when it comes to placing initiatives on the ballot to pass state law and amend their constitution and veto referendums, the right to an abortion is neither protected nor barred, but the governor is pushing the legislature to put a legislative referred constitutional amendment to voters to ban it. Desperate times call for desperate measures. And this might open up the opportunity for them to start seeking other ways to protect their right to privacy, thus leading them down the path of discovery of ballot initiative and veto referendum that they can take advantage of. Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, and West Virginia got one hell of a mountain to climb because they're not a veto referendum or ballot initiative state. And they already amended their state constitution to ban abortion. Iowa, their state Supreme Court in June reversed an earlier court ruling that the Constitution guaranteed the right to an abortion. I guess that means it did not explicitly say women have a right to end abortion, despite it didn't say that. They didn't remember, or they didn't. Remember what I said, if things aren't made explicit in Constitution, then governors and presidents and judges can look at it one or two ways. Well, the Constitution doesn't explicitly permit me to do this or that, so I guess I can't. While others see it as, well, it doesn't explicitly say that I can't do this, so I guess I can. Well said, Roger Meadows. Thanks so much for that. Thanks so much for that information. Thank you for the super chat. Oh, I said that one already. Yeah, I got that one, Eric. I did all those, but I didn't get this one. Thank you for the super chat, AJF. Keep in mind that we have both a fascist and theocratic problem in our nation. In God we trust, on our money. God in our Pledge of Allegiance, inserted in 1954, and the appropriate God bless America. Yes, AJF. And this is why I'm trying to tell people, like, America, like, is a conservative country. That doesn't mean every American is conservative. But when you look at our systems that are in place, a lot of our systems in this country, when you look at all the things that he just mentioned about God's on our money, God's, on the Pledge of Allegiance, America is a conservative country. I'm going to go to our next story. This is more lighthearted for you. Well, kind of compared to the others. I don't know if you've been paying attention, if you've seen this, but this is going to make you laugh. Grab your popcorn, grab a pop if you got one. So it appears that now Anna Kasparian is agreeing with Jimmy Dore. But you don't have to believe me. Let's watch it for yourself. So I have a clip here. There's two parts of this I want to show from TYT. And there's another clip that I want to show you after this that Joe created. He's really good at making these videos, and he shares them on Twitter. He's like awesome with this, where he actually compares what Jimmy Dore is saying to what Anna Kasparian is saying. So first and foremost, it starts with this story, obviously, right? So it goes back to Roe v. Wade. Anna and John talked about this on TYT, and they had some things. Well, Anna had some things to say about the Democratic Party. So here we are back at this again. Remember last time she went on that rant and said the Democrats are useless and yada, yada. And then she came back and tried to say she was talking about the Republicans. Well, she's at it again. And this time she sounds a lot like Jimmy Dore, who she says is right wing. Listen to this. Do-do-do.
And then the Democratic Party just points to them and says, wouldn't it be terrible if they were in office? Now, like, imagine what if we had one party that actually cared about what your life was like and cared that your wages keep losing out against inflation more and more so every year. Like, how easy would it be to beat that?
They don't care about you. Let's just be very clear. They don't care about you. They don't care, and not just you, John, all of us. The Democratic Party, the mainstream Democratic Party today gave us a massive middle finger, okay? With Joe Biden, and Francesca will talk about this on the show later in I believe the second hour. But Joe Biden's speech today was, man, this really sucks. You should really elect more of us so this doesn't happen. You guys are in charge. What are you talking about? Nancy Pelosi sending out the fundraising emails immediately. What a gift. What a gift to the Democratic Party. Time to fundraise. What an awesome issue that we can campaign on, fundraise on, and then do absolutely nothing about. And by the way, speaking of Nancy Pelosi, I'd like to share the double middle finger that she gave the American people today by reading a poem from a member of the Israeli military. Let's watch.
From time to time, I quote this poem by Ehud Manor. He's an Israeli poet. I met his wife when I've been in Israel. He says,
like, none of us care. Like, I'm sorry, in reference to what Nancy's saying here, like, we don't care. We don't care about your poem. We don't care about any of that. And again, I agree with what Anna said, but the thing is, it's coming from Anna Kasparian, who criticizes and smears other people who say the exact same thing that she just said. It gets worse, though. We're going to skip over Nancy's. We do not want to hear your poem. Your poem's pathetic. Talk about not being able to read the room. There we go.
John, clearly she hopes that the Supreme Court will open its eyes. Clearly she hopes. A useless, pathetic shell of a woman, step down immediately. You are not fit to lead anything. You are not fit to fight. You couldn't fight your way out of a wet paper bag. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, including the rest of Democratic leadership, needs to step the hell down. I mean, they're holding on to power, will not let it go, and the country is suffering as a result of that.
Yeah.
It's absolutely pathetic.
There's a concept in the parliamentary system of vote of no confidence. There's the idea, and more importantly than the mechanism, there is the idea that there should be accountability. That if you fail, even like in one important thing, even if you've been doing stuff that your party likes for a few years, and there's one big thing that you have to get done, you fail, you might step down. Like, no, she should just be in charge for years and years and years and years. Doesn't matter if anything gets done.
We're skipping over John. And we're gonna fast forward back to Anna here. Right about there.
Same mission as these Republicans.
Yeah, and just to back up a little bit, I just want to remind.
Oh, wait, I think, didn't I write down that timestamp somewhere? Oh, 1822, okay. Thought I did. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. All right.
Yeah, and just to back up a little bit, I just want to remind everyone that back in 2009, when President Barack Obama had a super majority in Congress and had the ability to pass a federal law protecting women's reproductive rights, he literally said that it wasn't the top priority. It wasn't a priority, okay? Because he would rather capitulate to the Republican Party with the hope that they would help him pass his Heritage Foundation written Affordable Care Act.
But it did work though, Anna, right? I mean, at least like it was a rough bargain, but in the end they helped.
But you know, it's interesting to see how the establishment Democrats are trying to rewrite history and feed us this revisionist garbage about why Obama didn't do it. Now, Obama didn't do it because he was capitulating to the right wing. Make no mistake about it. But what they're trying to tell us now is no.
And why would Obama try to do that with the right wing? Why is the Democratic Party, why are the Democrat politicians in DC trying to please the Republican Party in DC? Why are they trying to work with them, cross over the aisle? Why are they trying to get them on their side? Why are they so for, let's try to do bipartisanship? Because it's two wings of the same bird. Because both parties look out for corporate interest, not people interest. There's no money in helping the people. Say it. Say that, Anna. Bring up the money. Talk about how the money controls all of it. She goes on.
No, Now, the reason why Obama didn't do it is because he couldn't do it. Yeah, he had a super majority in Congress, but there were blue dog Democrats who were standing in the way. And then you have Nancy Pelosi, fast forward to today, after reading the leaked reversal of Roe v. Wade. Okay, this is before the official reversal happened. After that leak, she decides to campaign for a right-wing Democrat who, for the most part, voted along with Donald Trump when he was in power, and that's Henry Cuellar.
Yeah.
When she could have endorsed his progressive primary challenger, Jessica Cisneros. And who knows?
Again, why would she do that, Anna? Why would she do that? Because they don't really care about the people. She's going to back establishment. The parties are controlled. That's why the parties are controlled by Wall Street. They are going to back the establishment candidates. They are not going to back these candidates that are progressives, that are trying to change the very system that is in place that they all seem to love. They're not going to back them. You know, Shama Sawan said this last night when she was on, and she had a good point. You're asking people to run into the Democratic Party, to run through the Democratic Party. And you're asking those people to break up the system that they have now joined and expect not to be targeted, not to be harassed, not to be bullied, not to be threatened, and for them to think that the other Democrats there with them are going to help them. No, they're going to do everything that they can to get rid of them. It is a fool's errand. She's right. Now she say all this, Anna's going to say all this, but she's still telling you, but vote for them. But vote for the Democrats.
Maybe that endorsement would have made all the difference because that was a close race.
It was.
But make no mistake, we know what the Republican Party is about. And sometimes people get mad because they feel like I'm a little too harsh toward Democrats. I should focus more of my energy toward Republicans. Listen.
That is definitely a Jimmy Dore talking point. She got that from Jimmy Dore. Some people say I'm too hard on the Democrats and I should focus more on the Republicans. Bullshit. Nobody's saying that to her. Really? Have you seen TYT? Have you? We should take a look at their video. I'm going to show you in just a second. Let's get through this. And then we'll look at their channel and I'll show you what they're talking about. Because last time I checked, all I saw was Republican content. That's a Jimmy Dore talking point that she just used. And I'm not here to try to defend Jimmy or anything, but she's saying the exact thing.
Guys, I tell you that the Republican Party is trash every day. I don't know what more I can do. If you don't believe me, if you don't believe I'm being sincere there, okay, that's on you. But the Republican Party tells us who they are. They tell us what they plan to do. They give us endless warnings about what they're gonna do. But the Democrats, they lie to us.
Yeah.
They fundraise off issues we care about. They purport to care about the same issues. They claim they're gonna fight for those same issues. And when push comes to shove, all they give us is kente cloths and poems. I'm not interested. This party is an absolute failure. They failed the American people. And I'm done with the performative politics. I'm done with like the incredibly shallow culture war narratives. I want fighters. Because this isn't just about like, let's have a friendly debate about policy. They are rolling back our rights. And if you think it stops at reproductive rights, you're sadly mistaken. They're coming for gay marriage. They're coming for contraception. In fact, Clarence Thomas made that abundantly clear in his decision. He wrote a separate decision that concurs with the conservative justices, but goes even further. He wants to roll back all of those other constitutional rights that have been granted to people in the gay community, that have been granted to married couples. He wants to allow states to regulate what kind of sex you're engaging in, okay? He wants to uphold anti-sodomy laws. These people are creeps. Okay, here's what non-creeps don't do, okay? Non-creeps don't sit around thinking about anal sex among other people who are in relationships. I don't think about other people having anal sex. Conservative justices, along with the right-wing movement in this country, they can't stop thinking about anal sex. It's on the mind all the time. So much so that Clarence Thomas wants to regulate whether you have anal sex, how you have anal sex. Super creepy stuff, super creepy. Sounds like the Supreme Court has a few groomers in it. One final thing I'll say is, don't waste your money by giving it to members of the Democratic Party. They are gonna be fundraising off of this. They're gonna exploit this tragic moment for their own political purposes, and they don't deserve that funding in their campaign coffers. They have abandoned the American people.
Doesn't Jimmy say that? Don't we say that over to RBN? Haven't we been telling you for over a year, don't donate to them, don't give them any money? Haven't we been telling you that? That's what we've been saying, right? I want to let you know when we made those statements that people like Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur, that whole TYT crowd, they attacked us and said we were bad faith actors. They said we were secret right wingers. They smeared us. We were way ahead of them. We predicted what was going to happen to Nina Turner before it happened. We called it out. We were told that we were being mean. What? Because we're telling you the truth? You want someone to sugarcoat a story for you to make you feel better, to make your heart feel like it's in the right place? That's not what you're going to get here. You're not going to get that from us. So we were ahead of them. Jimmy was ahead of them. All those people that said Jimmy was wrong for calling the squad frauds, you still feel that way now? She's late. That was a terrible place for me to pause this video. She's late. But again, question, all the people who smeared us as right wing for saying the exact same thing, are you going to call Anna a right winger now too? You going to smear her for saying the same things that we've been saying at RBN? Is she right wing? Is she now part of the dumb left? CJ brought up something last night, or not last night, the other day. I forget, maybe it was Thursday or Friday. CJ mentioned something that made a lot of sense. If you listen to Chris Hedges, if you listen to Shama Sawant, they're saying a lot of the same things that we say. Can't do it through the two-party system. Need to get out of the duopoly. It's not going to work. They have no problem, especially Chris Hedges. Hold on, it's humid. Okay. Especially Chris Hedges, they have no problem, telling people that Biden is corrupt, that Bernie didn't do it the right way, same things. But you never hear those same people call Chris Hedges the dumb left. You don't. Why? He's an academic. They only have a problem with it with us saying it. You know why? Oh, they're a group of black people, group of working class black people. They're not professors. What do they know? They're not politicians. They didn't run through any campaigns. They didn't run an election. They didn't work in DC with these corrupt politicians. They're just a group of black people, working class black people. They don't know what they're talking about. That's why. Don't do any research. Don't know that Nick and Rome canvassed for Bernie Sanders. Don't know that Rome has been in Bernie Sanders ads before. Don't know that I was an academic advisor, that I worked in higher ed for over 10 years. That yes, I have a bachelor's and a master's degree. Just because I don't come on here and brag about it every show doesn't mean it's not there. That's the difference. They don't want to hear from us. This is a class divide. They want to hear from the academic elite people. That's who they want to hear it from. So Anna is late. I think she's trying to get ratings or bumps for TYT because they're sinking. I can see it with TubeBuddy, you guys. They're sinking. Yes, they may be getting those views, but in terms of like people actually watching them, the analytics tell me otherwise. Let me let her finish and I'm gonna show you that video.
Only look out for themselves. The only time you ever see a corporate Democrat fight is if they're fighting progressive members of their own party. Other than that, they're useless. So look into organizations that actually want to fight. Look into organizations that are providing safe abortion access to women in red states, whether it's by covering their travel expenses or whatever it is that they do to help make this situation a little easier for women who are gonna really bear the brunt of this.
Isn't that what we've been saying? Haven't we been telling you to focus on the organizations and organize within your own community and help the people in your community and forget this two-party game? Anna Kasparian, Cenk Uygur, that TYT group, they said we were bad faith actors for telling you what was very much so apparent.
The Supreme Court decision today. But wasting your money by giving it to the corporate Democrats right now is just it's not the way to go. At some point, we have to change course and realize these people do not care about us.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. We really appreciate it.
At some point, we have to change course and realize that these people do not care about us. Now, Joe, I like Joe. Joe makes cool videos and he puts them on Twitter. He does mashup videos. I don't know how he does this. I'm not good with video editing. I'll just be honest with you. It's not something I'm good at. But I do want to make sure. Oh, Eric, just letting you know I moved it to the third banner. Okay. Anywho, he made one of Jimmy Dore and Anna Kasparian. So he said Anna Kasparian versus Jimmy Dore. Get out of here. I'm laughing because I already know I've seen this already. Anna Kasparian versus Jimmy Dore. Shout out to Joe. Follow him on Twitter, you guys. It's at STFushitLib on Twitter, and you'll see other videos like this as well. Thank you, Joe. So let's see how much Anna is actually agreeing with Jimmy Dore. So here we go.
They don't care about you. Let's just be very clear. They don't care about.
Oh, wait a minute. It froze. Sorry. Eric, can you do volume boost? I'm sorry. I'm all over the place tonight, you guys. I apologize. It's too late to apologize.
They don't care about you. Let's just be very clear. They don't care about you. They don't care, and not just you, John, all of us.
They don't care about you. Adam Schiff.
Okay, that's good. All right, guys, let's try this again. Here we go. So here's Anna versus Jimmy.
They don't care about you. Let's just be very clear. They don't care.
Why is that there? Okay.
About you. They don't care, and not just you, John, all of us.
They don't care about you. Adam Schiff doesn't care about you at all.
The Democratic Party, the mainstream Democratic Party today gave us a massive.
I'm not going to do this through type VNC. It keeps freezing. I'll do it because I want you guys to see the whole thing. It's freezing in type VNC, so I'm going to put it over here. All right, honey buns, we're going to try this again. Share screen. Here we go. Okay.
They're they don't care about you. Let's just be very clear. They don't care about you. They don't care, and not just you, John, all of us.
They don't care about you. Adam Schiff doesn't care about you at all.
The Democratic Party, the mainstream Democratic Party today, gave us a massive middle finger, okay?
I feel better.
Someone made a joke. Go ahead.
I feel better when I see
I feel
those,
better. Doesn't it
right?
make you feel better?
Yeah.
They're going to fuck you, but they're going to put lube on while they do it.
But Joe Biden's speech today was, man, this really sucks. You should really elect more of us so this doesn't happen. You guys are in charge. What are you talking about?
Vote like your life depends on it, because it does.
Nancy Pelosi sending out the fundraising emails immediately. What a gift. What a gift to the Democratic Party. Time to fundraise. What an awesome issue that we can campaign on.
So the Democrats don't want to codify abortion. Why? So they can run on it.
Fundraise on.
Until people tell you to stop donating to them, they're just bullshitting you.
And then do absolutely nothing about it. You are not fit to lead anything. You are not fit to fight. You couldn't fight your way out of a wet paper bag.
Just calm down. We're going to have a very way.
And sometimes people get mad because they feel like I'm a little too harsh toward Democrats. I should focus more of my energy toward Republicans. Listen, guys, I tell you that the Republican Party is trash every day. I don't know what more I can do.
I don't criticize Democrats because I favor Republicans. I criticize Democrats because they favor Republicans.
The Democratic Party has quickly morphed into the Republican Party substantively.
The Democrats are now Republicans, and this isn't hyperbole.
It's so important to support Nina Turner.
Like a whore.
Have you ever even told people to stop donating to them? No.
Wasting your money by giving it to the corporate Democrats right now is just not the way to go.
This is a desperate attempt to try to get that audience back. Sorry, your audience already left you. Everyone already sees through you. And for the people who haven't, I'm going to keep educating them on the piece of it that you are.
When it comes to bread and butter issues, that's really that different from the Republican Party.
They just sent $40 billion to Ukraine aid.
Because, look at the wonderful bipartisan way in which Congress has allocated billions of dollars in military spending for Ukraine. Isn't it so wonderful? Yeah, it's because they have the same defense contractor donors, you idiots. That's why.
We decided to send that money to Raytheon and Boeing and Booz Allen. And so now you know what's going on. Now you know who the Democratic Party and the Republican Party really serve.
I don't want anyone
to give Jimmy Dore credit for beating us to this 18 months earlier.
They think the hoes will learn now. The hoes be knowing, okay? The hoes be knowing.
That sounds like violence.
So enjoy that. The hoes be knowing. And when push comes to shove, the hoes be knowing.
He's done it again. That is a fact. You fucking little bastard. He's done it again. You dirty bastard. You've done it again.
Again, shout out to Joe. Joe, you're awesome. You're doing great work. Follow Joe on Twitter. I'll put the link here in the chat. I think yeah, if you want to watch that video, that links you right to it. But yeah, I mean, this is obvious, right? This is obvious. So where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? So Shama Swan and I talked about that last night. I think I'm going to do a call-in probably Thursday. Yeah, I'm going to do a call-in Thursday about that interview. Because I want you, again, if you haven't seen the interview, watch the interview first before you listen to the call-in that I'm going to do Thursday. Because she explained how they do it with Socialist Alternative. And she explains the difference between someone wanting to run and be a politician versus selecting people that are the right people to do it. They have a whole different strategy, and that's something that we should be looking at. You should have the candidates come out of the movement, not choose someone who's already a politician and then have them adopt language from a movement, i.e. Bernie Sanders, adopting language from the Occupy movement and running it into a campaign through the Democratic Party. That's what we've been doing. What we need to do is we need to shift, and I've said this before, you need to put more focus on local politics instead of Who can we get into the House? Who can we get into the Senate? We need to focus more on the local level, and you need to get people that are already a part of these organizations and get them to run, not someone who wants to be a politician, because then they get involved with the celebrity of it, like AOC, etc. And they can't run through the two-party system. So I'm just going to go ahead and say this here. I've heard names mentioned about, what do you call it? Oh, people who I haven't heard any of them announce that they're running for 2024, but there are some names that have been mentioned, right? So I'm just going to go ahead on record and say this here. Whether I know you or not, whether we're buds, pals, comrades, I am not supporting any candidate running for president, running for Congress, that's running as a Democrat or Republican. I am not supporting them. They're not getting my money. They're not getting my applause and my cheers. So I'm putting that out here so people know, regardless if I know them or not, if they are running as a Democrat or as a Republican, I am not issuing any type of support for them. That is not where I'm headed. I think we've learned from this experiment gone wild that was Justice Democrats, and I think it's time to do something else. I think we need to move away from Bernie Sanders. I think we need to move away from Justice Democrats. They've been co-opted. They're corrupt. They're taking billionaire money. I think we need to move away from that strategy. And I think we need to take a serious look at what Shama Sawant and Socialist Alternative are doing. I think we need to think about what Case Study QB talked about, marrying mutual aid and candidacy. So that way there's a mutual aid organization. The candidate comes out of the organization. So even if the candidate loses, the people still get something. They still get the mutual aid. That is what we need. So I'm going to say this one more time. I am not supporting any candidate, whether I know them or not, running as a Democrat or Republican. Not doing it. But yes, it is what it is. So I say that because I've already heard some names, and some of them are people that I know, and I'm letting you know right now, not supporting that strategy. I'll take those comments on Rockfin, Eric. All right. Thanks for the tip, Roger Meadows on Rockfin. Slaveholders use Christianity to pacify slaves by emphasizing some parts of the Bible while suppressing more revolutionary parts, by the way. Isn't this Sharia law? GOP was so bent on getting rid of. Yes, Maine, another veto referendum state that allows voters to repeal state laws. Voters can pass law via ballot initiative, taxing private schools to fund public schools with no majority. The right uses leverage, yet progressives won't. Good point. Thanks for this as well. At MI Repro Freedom in Michigan are pushing a state constitutional ballot initiative to protect choice. At Repo Liberty Vermont is helping to support voters ratify into the Vermont Constitution put forth as a legislative referral constitutional amendment by the state legislature, a woman's right to an abortion. Kentucky legislature is doing vice versa. So at Join to Protect Kentucky is asking Kentuckians to vote no on question 2 that would amend the Kentucky Constitution to say abortions are unconstitutional. I encourage everyone to go to bisc.org and follow them at Ballot Strategy. BISC Ballot Initiative Strategy Center, centered in DC. They provide support, financial groups, manpower to progressive BIs and VRs across the United States. This is our chance to those states to attach Medicare for all, since women say it's a healthcare issue. Thank you for this tip, Dave Burt. Thanks, Sabby, for this discussion. Good luck. Things are going to get real as this summer goes on. Good luck. I agree. Thank you so much for that. Something I'm working on right now. I talked to some of the women that come on my monthly women's panel. They'll be back next week, I think it's next week. We'll be back. And I'm talking to them about us starting some type of mutual aid group for abortion funds, because women are going to need them. They're going to need them. My state's a little bit different, so obviously I wouldn't ask you to, I wouldn't be using it for my state pretty much, because we don't have that issue with abortion here right now. However, some of the other women that are part of that panel, Zeneb, she's in Kentucky. Kim's in Maryland. Delilah's in Texas. She's running as a Green for governor of Texas. And that's one of the states that just got the ban. So I'm talking to them about trying to start something for that. If so, once we get that going, I want to do a panel on that and bring other people on as well. Because like I said, people are going to need the funds, especially if they have to go to another state to get this done. So hopefully I can get that going. I'll keep you guys posted with that. I'm also working with Massachusetts Peace Action right now, working on trying to get some aid towards the group that I went to visit. You may have seen the video. It's on my channel. I think it's the pinned video where we talked to Mayor Michelle Wu. So that group, that is Bromley Heath. That is the housing project that Michelle Wu wants to tear down, basically. These people will not have a place to live. So I'm trying to get something together with Massachusetts Peace Action to get them the resources and goods that they need. So those are the things that I'm working on right now. So I've been busy. So if you've emailed me or anything, I know I haven't gotten through all of them. I haven't been able to respond to everybody, but I've been really busy. I'm trying to get people the help that they need now, because like I just showed you, this is going to go beyond Roe. This is going to go further than that. And we got to start helping people now. All right. I think I got all of the, no, I did not. Doobie-doobie-doo. A kid says, Sabby, please consider John and Anna are saying what RBN has said for the last couple years. Yes, thank you, a kid. She's Black. In November, Anna will be telling us to vote Democrat. She will. Thanks for the super chat, Andrew. $64,000 question. Who is the biggest fool of them all? A, Anna Kasparian. B, Anna Kasparian. C, Anna Kasparian. D, Anna Kasparian. You're hilarious, Andrew. Thank you for this super chat as well. I bet Anna smears other leftists so she can act like she's the only one saying the Dems don't do anything. Very Trumpian on her part. Oh, and they'll get the credit for it too, by the way. They'll get the credit for it and people will say, oh, TYT is so revolutionary for telling the truth and coming up with these ideas. Won't even know that a Black group's been saying it for like over a year. And Colin said, running via organizations is what Kwame Ture said decades ago. That's right. That's right. I think I just missed something. Oh, thanks for the super chat, AJF. I'm going to keep repeating this. Obama Democrats allow Roe/Wade because he/them are older style Republicans. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, honey buns, I am going to head out. I do have a panel coming on, at least for the first 30 minutes tomorrow night. They're going to talk about trying to start a national public bank. So that should be interesting. You'll learn a lot from that discussion. They have like a PowerPoint presentation and everything, so it should be pretty cool. So definitely, guys, join me tomorrow. Watch the Shama Sawan interview if you haven't seen it, and I'll do a call-in for that on Thursday, and then my usual one that I do on Friday. Hit that like button, guys. Helps me with the algorithm. And other than that, have a good night. Keep up the fight.